You can see there's a vehicle in front of me. I'm going to have it pointing to the right here, and you'll be able to see when the vehicle is kind of in the blind spot, the light turns on. It's like an orange color, definitely a darker orange, but it works on the left the left mirror, the right mirror, and it goes away after they're kind of out of the blind spot. So I wanted to talk through what the kit from Tlyard includes. You, of course, get your two mirrors that have the LED strip going across here, and then you can see on the edge right there the blind spot detector for the light. It includes some double-sided kind of sticky tape that you can use to mount to these. You have two of these. Basically, the cord that comes from the mirror has kind of this circle connector because it has to fit through the hole in the mirror. And these wiring harness connectors are way too big. So you'll feed this through the mirror. That connects to this, which is going to connect to this box. You can see there's the one port right here that this connection is going to plug into. And then you're going to have the longer cable, which is going to run through the door in through the interior of the car, and there's two connectors on there. And you can see there's the large connector here, which is going to be for this white connector, and then there's the other connector here. There's these red cables. There's one on one of the harnesses, and the same thing for the other mirror on the other harnesses. And then there's some connections here that you're going to make inside the interior of the vehicle. We can see this one kind of is, I believe, the brain box. Can't really decipher the ABCs or the letters here, but it's either for the blind spot detector or the turn signal. And then you have another one here, which is going to plug into the larger box. You can see the one connector here, and there's some various connections for power and data. So this one might be for blind spot, this one might be for turn signal. But both of those will cover how to install in the interior of the vehicle. So I know this looks like a lot of wiring, but really it's just one for each of the mirrors. So if I'm just gonna put these in kind of some categories. So interior of the vehicle, interior connecting to the big brain box here. And then there are some other connectors that are going from this into the various connection points. So I know it looks like a lot, but I'll walk you through step by step how to install it. So to get access to where we're going to plug everything in, which is down here, we have to remove some of the weather stripping and some of the trim that's on the interior here. So I'm just going to pull back this weather stripping and bring it just all the way back. I'm going all the way to kind of the rear of the door. You can see here, just because we're going to need to remove this trim piece here. And then after you remove that, move the camera here, you can just grab a trim removal tool. We do have to remove this piece here. And there's just one clip here at the top, and then pull up. There is kind of this bottom piece that goes inside here. So I'm just going to put this on the dash, and then there is, you can kind of see it here, a push pin. Just one of those. Let me try to move around so I don't block it. And that just comes out. I'm just going to put this in the interior of the car, probably in the cup holder here. And then you can pull this back and then lift up, and then the whole piece, kick the camera a little bit. Let me move it around. You can just pull this whole trim piece out. And there's one clip in the back. You can kind of see it. Oops. Right here, this is in the back, and the rest of these are just guide pins. So I'm going to put this next to my floor mat there. And then there is one more push pin you can see down here with the carpet. So let me remove this, and then I'm going to pull the carpet back and get some light in here, and we'll show where you can make some of the connections. All right, so I know this looks like a rat's nest of wiring, but I have a number of accessories plugged in. You can see kind of, I have my HDMI interface in there. Farther back behind there, I have a adapter for my auto presenting door handles. I have a dash screen over there. I just have the mirror caps up here. I wanted to test everything before I start running all the wires everywhere. But the connection for the up front, there's actually two places you're going to be plugging wires in. One of them is right over here, and then the other one is at the rear of the center console. So with this one, it has two wires. A kind of skinnier one here, which from my understanding, I could be wrong, is for power. And then you have the other connector here, which is, I believe, for data. And this just connects to this box. I did not see any wiring or anything that comes out of this box. So I am guessing it transmits something via Bluetooth wirelessly from this box to the other boxes. Like you can see, one of them I have plugged in up here. That's my guess as to how this is working. Now, if you have no accessories, you're going to see a port right here next to my finger. Let me just unplug what I have in here. And this is on my 24 Model Y Performance. You may have a different color, but mine is white. Now, the nice thing with this harness here is it's basically a go in between. So if you have multiple accessories like I do, you can plug this end into it, and the existing accessories can plug right into here. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab and plug this one in. I know it's hard to see everything, but it only goes in one way. And the push pin that I have right here, that goes on the side facing the interior of the vehicle. And then I'm just gonna plug in here the other accessories that I have. I believe it's gonna go this way. Trying to do this one-handed as I film everything. Nope, it's gonna go the other way. There you go. Ignore the beep. That's for my auto presenting door handles. And then the other part of the wire, you can see this one here, the, I guess, smaller plug is actually going to plug into this port right here. So I'm going to unplug. Now, the stock, your vehicle will have something plugged into this one by default. So I'm just going to unplug what's there. I'm going to plug in the new kind of splitter, I guess we'll call it. That one just slides right in, and then the other end and this part will just plug in together. See if I can do this one-handed in the light. Let's see. Oh, that's going to face this way. So I have to turn the plug to be able to do this. Almost got it. All right. So those are plugged in. Oop, not all the way. Come on, Matt. Ooh. Dexterity of the fingers while holding a camera. Doing this one-handed. Well, you get the idea. I'm not going to make you watch me struggle. Let me plug this one in, and then we'll go through the next steps. So I know this also looks like a rat's nest. I also have a number of other accessories plugged into this one for the rear display, the screen. There's also for the HDMI interface, and then there's also for my ventilated seats. So having a cover like this one here that I picked up from Test Studio, which provides a lot of extra real estate to be able to hold all of these wires, I highly recommend. This already, I didn't have installed all the way. On purpose, because I've been waiting for an accessory to help plug into some of these connectors down here that are for my ambient light kit. But there is a larger OBD port. You can see it's blue, and I have something connected to it. It's the same thing as the front. I'm not going to walk you through that because you're just really plugging in some connectors here, but you can see I have a number of other things already plugged into this vehicle back here. But this is where you're going to have those two red connectors come out of. So when you're running the wires for the mirror, they're in essence going to inside the door here. There's a boot that goes in between the doors, kind of like this one right here, but it's obviously in the front. And the wire is just going to come down there. You can have it run down the edge of the car on the outside and then work its way to the center. Or you can have it like I did for my HDMI interface. The wires can go underneath the carpet this way and then straight back and come over to here. Now, I will say that the wires that plug into the mirror, they are labeled left and right. So you'll just want to make sure that when you are using or running the wires for those, you use the ones for each side respectively. But those we'll plug into right here. Now, see if I can get the light to move over here. You can see one of the wires here, the red ones, maybe if this will focus. There we go. Has a gray paint mark on it. The other red wire for the other connector does not. I tried both ways, swapping the left and right side, and they both still seem to work. So I'm not sure, like, because you can see there's a red marking, a gray mark on this wire here, but there's multiples. So I'm not sure what these gray kind of pen marks are for, because it seemed to work for me either way, whether I swapped these connectors. The lights, or not the lights, the LEDs on the mirror caps still worked exactly as expected. So I don't think there's a way that you can mess this up by plugging in one wrongly versus the other. But just for testing right now, I have the mirrors, the caps up there on the dashboard. I'm going to move to the front seat so I can just test everything to make sure that these are working as expected. All right, so I'm in the front seat. I'm going to press left on the blinker. We can see the left blinker on the mirror cap is blinking. The light up there is just obviously from the blinker in the front. We'll stop, we'll do the right side. That one is working as expected. And then let me turn the hazards on. So those are both working exactly as they should, which is great. Obviously you want to get a product that works and does what it's supposed to here. So that's all working as expected. As far as the blind spot monitor, I don't have a way to test that here, so at least while I'm static in the vehicle and installing this. So we'll try that out on the road and see how that works. I'm hoping everything will work as expected, but I guess stay tuned and we'll find out. But my next step is going to be actually removing the door card here, because we have to remove the mirror. You can already see I have the cap removed from it. We have to remove this door card, and then behind there are some bolts that are holding the mirror into place that we're going to need to remove, because we're in essence going to run a wire through the mirror housing. You can see the other, here, let me zoom in a little bit. Oh, wrong way. There's already some wires that are plugged in here for like the heat or the defrost, I should say. And we're going to run a wire through where those wires come out. They're behind the door card here, and then through the interior of the door itself to that kind of, let's see if you can, this is really dark. But right where my hand is back there, you can maybe see it, maybe not. Oh, you can, the reflection right here. The rubber boot is where we're going to run one of those wires through. I do highly, highly recommend. I have some electrical lubricant that helps lubricate the wire, so you can slide that through the boot so much easier. I almost say it's a necessity when you're working with things like this, because otherwise you are really going to struggle with the amount of wires that are already inside the rubber boot is a lot, and there's not a lot of wiggle room, and having that electrical lubricant really, really helps. So let me get set up and we'll start working on this side here on the passenger side for the door frame to pull that off. So I wanted to show the removal of the skull cap. Now I have on mine a carbon fiber cover that is just on top of it with double-sided tape. I had a previous video, I'll put a link in, of just sliding these on. So I'm hoping it's going to add a little bit more rigidity to the skull kind of cap that goes over this. I just have a couple of pry tools here. From what I've seen online with other people doing this, they've had kind of mixed success with prying on the edges on the outside. I've seen videos with better success of going through this way, which is what I'm going to try here. So putting a pry tool in here, you can see that goes basically all the way in. Just lifting up with my fingers. So I'm gonna leave that one there. Get this one. Is there enough room? Let's see on the back side here. Let me move the camera. Let me try the thicker side instead of the thinner one. There we go. And that came right off. So it looks like I did break one of the clips here. That should be okay. But the other ones, or the other pieces in here, everything looks to be okay. That one looks fine, that one looks fine, that one looks fine. Everything looks okay here from what I can tell. So I'm not gonna reuse these because I have the new ones that I'm gonna put on that have everything integrated into it. So I'll do the same, the other side off camera. Just the same thing, kind of prying in, being able to remove it. And then I know, at least where I am right now in the Chicago area, it's like low 40s outside right now, maybe mid 40s. So it is a little bit cooler. So the plastic is a little bit more brittle. It might be better to do this when it is warmer out, but because I'm replacing these, I'm not too concerned about it. And worst case is I can always buy another set of these directly from Tesla. So there are 3 bolts that hold this door card in place. One of them is actually behind this reflector right here. And that one just flew right off into my lap. So I'm gonna put that on the passenger seat. And then behind it, you can kind of see it through here, is a T30 screw. So I'm going to remove that. These are quite long. There we go. So that's one of them. The other 2, let me adjust the camera here and move the light so we can hopefully get a good shot of this. So another one of them is up through this hole. And then there's a final one. Let me put the trim removal tool down underneath here. Let me actually remove the phone from here. See if I can get the light into here to be able to see. So in this hole, let me move the camera, is where the last one is in here. Kind of hard to see, obviously not enough light, but there's one in here that you also have to remove. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove those other 2 bolts that are holding this part in and that part in, and then we'll be able to start removing the door frame. Before we do that though, we will need to remove the speaker cover here. That is just gonna slide up. So I'll get the bolts removed and then we'll walk through that part up there. So I've removed mine a number of times already, so it's probably gonna be a lot easier for me versus the first time that you're actually removing it. But in essence, this slides down. There's a metal channel back here that this slides into. You just wanna lift up, and there is a plastic piece that you're gonna have to rotate to remove. Let's see if I can do it without blocking the camera. This part right here, and then there are some wires that connect the speaker that you do need to remove. Nope, that one just came right out, perfect. And then you can just set this off to the side. And you can kind of see there is a white piece that the speaker came out of, but that is what plugs into right here. I'll remove that off camera and just put it back onto here when we're done with the reassembly. But you can see one of the bolts already for the mirror is right here. There's some other two that are behind this piece that we're going to need to remove. So let me work on removing the door panel. It's easiest, I think, using kind of the bottom of the door panel and then sticking your fingers, trying to pry from the bottom to be able to pull towards you directly. There's just a number of clips that are in essence holding the door panel into position. So I'll do my best to record that while also being able to have access myself. But there's a number of connectors that are connecting the door panel to the door itself, like for the emergency latch cable, for the buttons, for the opening the door and putting the window up and down. There's also wiring down in the bottom that have for puddle lights. So, and those are all kind of interconnected. So you don't want to just rip the door panel off and pull it towards you violently. You want to do it gently so that way you can not break the clips. I've done and broken a number of those already, but at least to give you an idea of kind of what the next steps are. All right, so I've started down here where the speaker is in the door on the bottom left and work my hand so I can just start pulling. I know that sounds violent, but it is just clips coming out. And then when you have all those out, you can just lift up the door panel to be able to remove it. So that's completed. I have my ambient lights here, which is why there's some extra wiring. But there are, you can see another, there's I think a bolt behind here. So we're gonna have to remove this. But let me put this down and reseat some things in here. Looks like for the door latch cable, here we go. And then we'll be able to undo those bolts. So I'm gonna put this door panel down on the floor because we're not gonna actually need to remove this completely. We should be able to just remove the speaker. There's some bolts holding that on to get access where we can run the wires internally. So let me put this down and get the camera resituated now that we have this off. All right, so we're gonna have to remove this one 10 mil bolt here. There's another one hiding right there. And then there's one more, you can see it right over there. I just pulled this plastic, this trim piece or the weather stripping up over, but you can kind of see this part was kind of inserted into here, and then the one on the end was on the one back here. Those can just snap back into position. But then you want to follow this wiring here because we will need to unplug it from the vehicle, and there's just a easy adapter here, or a wiring harness plug here, and then you're going to want to push this grommet that is here in, so it is on the interior of kind of where this hole is. I know it's kind of hard to see because we're going to need to remove the mirror. So that one is all the way removed. We need to remove the mirror from the vehicle to run the wiring through the mirror, and then it's going to come out through kind of this hole. You can see there is a zip tie where this existing weather stripping, this weather protector over the wires is already here. We're going to need to cut the zip tie off because we're going to need to run that new wiring to come into here, so then we can run it down to go through the hole into the vehicle. So I'm not going to bore you with kind of removing 3 bolts. That's easy to do. I will say, just be careful. I might leave this one for last. Undo these bottom 2 and then support the mirror with your other hand while you're using or while you're taking the mirror off so you don't damage anything. So I just wanted to show, I guess, the last removal of the last bolt, which is on the top here. I'm just going to support the outside of the mirror with my hand. Just do the rest of the bolt by hand here. All right, put that inside with the other 2, and then you can just remove the mirror. Got the wiring there that was holding it on. And shove that through, and then it comes with the plug, and then that's fully removed. So I'm gonna bring this inside to work on the wiring piece, because we have to remove this bottom panel. Oh, let me get in the camera here. This bottom panel, which is where we're gonna run the wiring through, that's then gonna go through the grommet here. So I'm gonna go bring this inside. I'll do the other door off camera, because the steps are gonna be identical to what we're doing here. So that way you don't have to watch me do the other side as well. So there is one Phillips screw you can see right here we're going to need to remove. All right, we'll put that off to the side. And then there is some rubber kind of molding here that we're going to need to remove. And that just goes kind of all the way around. We'll put that back on when we're done. And then we're going to need to pry off kind of the bottom. Oh, I missed a piece over here on this side. Move the wiring harness out of the way here. And there we go. Wonder if we can just leave it like that so I don't rip any of that rubber. But then we need to pry this apart here, because we need to separate these two sections here. So I have, let's try, let me actually get a towel so I can put this on so I don't scratch anything on here. Let me go grab that. All right, so grab the towel here. So I think it's gonna be easiest to kind of start down here. There's already kind of an opening. Kind of just work that plastic trim tool into here. Oop. As that comes around up to over there. Okay. Let me try this one. There we go. So that just kind of undid a little bit of the snap here. There we go. Coming apart. All right. So got that off. None of the snaps are broken, which is awesome to see. But this is then where we're going to run the wiring. So you can see the hole right here. And that wire is going to come out the bottom here. We're going to be able to run it kind of in this. Let me get the camera in the right spot. Through kind of right next to here, there should be enough room. And then it's going to run through the hole that's here and then into the grommet. So let me grab the mirror cover. Get the plug. Just push it through that hole. You can see it come out the bottom there. And we can put it right next to there in the channel. And then through here. And then that last piece is going to be cutting off the zip tie. So that way we can push it through the kind of grommet here, this rubber grommet, so it can come out on that side. So let me grab, I think I have some flush cutters, but let me see if I can find the right tool to be able to cut this, because I don't want to damage the rubber boot that's there. But we obviously aren't, you can't fit the zip tie, I'm sorry, you can't fit the wiring through here with the zip tie on. See, the closest things that I could find to be able to cut the zip tie. Let's see if it can do it. I don't know if these are sharp enough. Oh, it did, perfect. So I'll put those off to the side. Here's the zip tie. And then I should be able to on, move it into the light here just to show you what I'm doing. I'm just going to shove the wiring into here, the plug at least. You can kind of see it poking through right here. We're going to want to have it go all the way through, and I don't want to obviously bend anything and break it. So let me work through this and see if I have a little screwdriver here just to try to loosen this rubber. There we go. So that way I can kind of hopefully, because now that screwdriver, you can kind of see the edge of it right there. It's just helping expand this rubber a little bit. And let me try to work it a little bit that way. So you don't have to watch me struggle. I will, hopefully, unless I can get it this one time around, which it might be doing actually. Is that going to be enough to hopefully push it through? So I can see it right there. Just really a small space, and you don't have a lot of opportunity to grab it. So you can see it already pushing through. I will push this the rest of the way through, and then we'll pick up after that. So the wiring's pulled all the way through. I haven't pushed the skull cap all the way on. I wanted to kind of record that, but you can just kind of snap it into position all the way around. There we go. Oh, I got this corner left to do. I'm trying to be careful because I know people have broken these before. I'm trying to not damage that as I put the skull cover on. So I will get this pushed on all the way around, and then we can get this remounted in the vehicle. So I have the mirror all put back together, the bottom piece back on, the trim piece, I should say, right here, all this like kind of weather stripping back on. And now we can shove everything back into the door here. So I'm going to shove first the wiring plug for the stock connection, and also for the new light. Pull that through. At least on all the other connection there, okay? Then take the mirror, kind of angle it a little bit to get it back into position. Just pulling the grommet here to get that seated. All right, that's good. And I've got the mirror put back into position. That looks good. I see the bolt hole. Let me find a bolt here. Hopefully I'm not blocking too much. I'm just going to get the other two bolts installed. I don't think we need to watch that, but I've just taken the other two bolts And then I'm gonna take the weather stripping that's here and put it back into the spots where I had removed it to have access to underneath here. So I'll put those back into their position or their spots. I did want to add, I know it's not easy to tell, but they are labeled differently. This is all in Mandarin, so I had to use like Google Lens to be able to translate, but there is a left and a right box. Even though to me at least they look identical, apparently underneath where it says JCLC, this is Mandarin for left, and this one is Mandarin for right. So just use Google Lens to make sure you're going to mount the right box to the right side of the vehicle or the left side of the vehicle. So now we need to remove the speaker so we can be able to run kind of the extension wire that will plug into here. This does use, let me look at the bit here, T25, and there is a screw right here. There's one right there. There's not one there, but there is one here. So there's 3 screws that we need to remove, and then you have to undo the speaker connection just like that. I'm just gonna hang that off to the side here. But let me get these 3 screws out so then we can get the speaker off. So the kit comes with this like pull wire. All I did was in the interior of the vehicle, push it through this way. I took this boot off of this plastic insert that's here, shoved this piece through. I have my Klein synthetic clear wire lubricant. I'm gonna squirt some of that into the hole that's up here so I can push this through. That will come through here, and then see if I can get the light into here and be able to see at the same time. Here, let me put the phone in. Maybe my phone might be too big. There you go. So you can see where the wiring is going to come out. If I can try to get the light to, there we go. It's going to come out through there where those existing wires are, and then I'll be able to run the wire up through here, kind of how I have my ambient light strip wire right here. So I'm going to connect the end of this to the wire that's here, and basically take the red part, which is what's going to connect to the back of the center console, and be able to pull that through and go to the interior of the vehicle. So that's my game plan. It's going to be kind of hard to do this with one hand, squirting everything, doing everything, but it's really just pulling a wire through the rubber boot here. So after I get this pushed through, which I've seen a lot of people again say, if you don't have this lubricant, it is very hard to push it through. So, you know, spend, I think this was $15 on Amazon maybe, or maybe I'm not Amazon, maybe at Home Depot, to get yourself some wire lubricant. So I ended up using a different wire puller. The clear one that comes with the kit, just in my opinion, was not really rigid enough to be able to shove through here. But you can see I have it shoved through the bottom boot, and then it's coming out right here. So I'm gonna grab some electrical tape and tape the end of the connection onto here, and then be able to pull the wire through. Just a pro tip, make sure you're attaching the wire to the right end. I just put some electrical tape on the end that I am not using so I don't get confused. I put it on the wrong end and pull, and then just basically pull it nowhere. So this is where I'm going to attach it and then be able to pull it through, and then just shove it through on the inside here. Let's see if I can, you can't see my finger, but there is a hole back here in between, or basically directly this way, that the wire is going to come through. So I'll get it pulled through, and then the wire will just basically sit like this. I have to get the double-sided tape so I can mount that box, probably just like right over here maybe. So it's out of the way and near here, because this is where it's going to connect into with that, let me get the box here, with this extension wire that comes out of the box where this is going to plug in. So at least, you know, this was extremely helpful to lubricate to this wire puller. Otherwise, you are going to struggle a lot to be able to get this through. The other thing I wanted to add before I pull the cable through, is these are labeled. So this one you can see says right line, I'm on the passenger side. Make sure you use the right cable because I believe that these are length differences between the two. So just make sure you're using the right cable for the right side. So I've put the double-sided tape that has like the Velcro onto here, and this is where I stuck the box. I also took some double-sided tape and just wrapped it around the connection just for peace of mind, so there's nothing that can happen with it coming apart. So I thought this was just kind of an extra guarantee because these really just slide together. They don't like lock into place. They don't have like a lock connector. And then I'll just kind of hide the wires back here, but then this way everything will be out of the way, looking nice, and hopefully won't rattle up. I'll secure this nicer into here, but I have the wire all the way through. You can kind of see it right here. I just need to run it to the interior and then put the boot back on the interior and then onto the door, put the speaker back on, and then I can put the door panel back on. So I'm not going to video that because it's literally the opposite of what we just did, where you're going to I'll run the wire right here next to the ambient light strip that I have. It's just the reverse instructions. I will say take your time lining up the pieces into like the holes here, the guide up here, the ones over on the other side. The clips are plastic. They can break if you just try to jam everything and, you know, slam it in the position. So take your time with it. There's no rush to be able to put the door panel back on. And then the last thing I did was I just put a new zip tie here. I put one, I think here, another one here. And then there's a final one you can kind of see. I just haven't cut the end off yet. There's a little hole right here. And that way this will secure the wire. So I don't think there's going to be any chance of any rattles of anything inside the door because this is going to hold everything nice and securely. So I ran the cable inside, pulled it through. It's actually this cable right here that I just have routed. And then I pushed it through the hole. And let me see if I can get the light and be able to see down here. I came from this way and I was able to, you see where this edge of the carpet is right here, stick my hand through there. And then this is the vent kind of protector I have, like the mesh that has the Velcro, and just ran the wire over the vent that's here, the HVAC, but underneath the carpet. And hopefully I can get this to focus. There you go. The wire's coming up over here. So when I go to the back seat of the vehicle, I'll be able to clean this part up and then have the wire run up kind of through the carpet into here to be able to go to the back of the center console. So I got the speaker back on. I did make sure I had a little bit of play here with the wire. So this is not taut to, you know, pull on the module here. I got to plug the speaker back in. I almost forgot that, but that's back in. The three screws are back in. I will say take your time with putting on, let me see if I can get the light to focus with the weather stripping here. Take your time putting these boots on because these are your weatherproofing. And if you do not put them on correctly, you can have water leaky either into the interior of your vehicle or the door. So take your time putting those on so you do it correctly to avoid leaks. So I was able to run the wires. Again, on the driver's side, they came through this hole. I just lifted up this Velcro kind of mesh, ran the wire underneath the carpet and then over the HVAC vent all the way across. And then the wire comes out where you can see this other wire that I pulled out just so you can be able to see down here. Let me move the light. Maybe the camera can focus. So the driver's side wire goes through here. It's the same thing on the passenger side. There's a hole over there. And then I took a wire puller, actually the one that came in the kit. And then you can kind of see, I have to clean up the wires a little bit more. I just haven't done that yet. You can kind of see them hanging out right here. I shoved the wire puller through there and then I pulled it out through this side. And I actually connected both the driver's side and passenger side mirror wires to there. So the passenger side I just shoved all the way through, or you could do it the opposite because the same thing exists over here on the passenger side. I just didn't want to run the wire puller twice. It didn't make sense to me to have a wire come from this side and a wire come from this side when they're both long enough that they can come through this side here or alternatively in the passenger side to be able to plug in here. So I just got to do a little bit of cleanup work. I'm probably going to do a vacuum job to clean some of this up because the back of the car is filthy. Part of it is having a 5-year-old where we got some ice cream and some other junk just down here to clean up. So I'm going to just do some wire maintenance to clean this up. Probably try to get a vacuum to clean some of this just garbage and debris up. But everything back here is connected. Again, I did not see a difference left or right. It did not matter to me which one was plugged in. The only thing that did matter was the module that was in the door, which again, I used the Google Translate for to make sure I put the right module in the right door. So the only thing I have left to do back here is clean this up. I have to put this cover plate back on to hide everything. Again, I do highly recommend this. It was, I think, 70 bucks or 80 bucks from Test Studio because obviously they're not making thousands and thousands of these. This is probably a low production item, which is why it has the higher cost. But having that extra real estate back here is going to be very, very helpful to store all of these wires because the stock one, it doesn't have this depth. You're not going to be able to close it if you have, I think, 2 accessories that are plugged in back here. So I'm going to get this all buttoned up, do a quick vacuum job, and then be able to show you kind of the mirrors on the left and right. I might wait till night. Well, I'll try to do it during the day, but I might wait till nighttime as well to be able to better see the mirror kind of blinking when the blinker is on. And then I'll need to do a test for the blind spot monitor. So you can see the mirror on the passenger side is blinking. This side is blinking when I have my hazards on. So it looks awesome. I'm pretty happy with the results. Let me zoom in a little bit closer here. We can get a good look at it. So this is a gloss black finish. This was the only option available. What I'm thinking of doing is actually going to get this wrapped in like a matte carbon fiber to kind of match the existing look that I had on there. I think that might look better, and especially matching like my front diffuser, the rear diffuser. And I'm thinking about getting some side skirts that are all kind of this matte carbon fiber look. But I'm pretty happy with the results. I'm looking forward to testing out the blind spot detection to see how that works. But it is a pretty nice orange. I know it's kind of hard to see right now in the daylight, so I'll get another shot of this at night. So here I'm in the right lane. You can see there's a vehicle in the left lane. I'm just gonna move my phone over to look at the mirror. So you can see the vehicle is next to me, and now the blind spot detector is going off as there's a vehicle that's now in the blind spot. So a really cool addition, great for safety and bringing it up to where I'd say that the vehicles should be from Tesla. I know the newer versions have like the red light in the speaker grill, but for us folks that have like the legacy models that don't have ambient light, now I know I have an aftermarket kit, but I like this addition in the mirrors much more than like those light strips that had the blind spot detector that I've reviewed previously, or like the little circles that were in the corners. The implementation of these in the mirrors matches what you'd see on, you know, more higher end vehicles that have like the little symbol that would show up in the mirror. It might be like a triangle or a square or something just to like show awareness. And this is in a similar spot. It's on the edge of the mirror. So I feel this is a great add. Now the work involved to add this to your vehicle is extensive, as I kind of showed in the installation steps. So there are some trade-offs with it. I did want to add, so I'm just parked here on a street. When you have your turn signal on, so you can see right now I have my left signal on, you cannot tell like any reflection anywhere that the outside of the mirror has an LED that's blinking, which is great because I was worried about like some distractions, especially at night, like seeing reflections of the light, you know, either somewhere on the mirror housing or bouncing off the car, but you can't see anything, which is awesome because I was really worried about that. So I am going to kind of show what the light or the mirror looks like now that we're at night to show the blinking. So I'm just going to put my blinker on, just stepping outside, and you can see here, let me close the door. Oh, well, I got to turn the blinker back on. So let me put my window down. And then I can put the blinker on. Well, maybe not. All right, so I didn't close the door all the way, but you can see here, you have your normal repeater camera that's blinking. I have now the LED strip in the mirror. My door handles are also blinking, which I think only works when you're in park. When you're in drive, I don't believe you can see the door handles blinking. You got your normal blinker in the headlights, and then I just wanted to show here for the turn signals down here that I added. Everything looks awesome at night. So I'm a big fan of these mirror covers and kind of the features that they add with the turn signals, especially if you're on the side of the vehicle. Like, say that you're over here and you have, you know, your vehicle, and then to the right is the Model Y. You may not be able to see the blinker all the way, but now with, or on the repeater camera, but now in the mirror cover, it's obvious that you're turning left. So very, very happy with it. Let me do just the same thing to show for the audience what happens when I put my right turn signal on. We'll just do the same thing. You can see it over here, blinking, doing the same thing that was happening on the left side. So very happy with it. I'll just do one more shot, kind of just back it up. And you can see here the blinker on the mirror cover. So it's about 4:30 out. You can see there's a vehicle in front of me. I'm gonna have it pointing to the right here, and you'll be able to see when the vehicle is kind of in the blind spot, the light turns on. It's like an orange color, definitely a darker orange, but it works on the left the left mirror, the right mirror, and it goes away after they're kind of out of the blind spot. So hope at least seeing this in the day, and then I know previously had at night. You can see blinkers on, but it doesn't blink. I did see, at least like on another video, a person on a Model Y Juniper, and the light turned on with their turn signal. So I'm guessing it might be something to do with it being a Juniper, or maybe having some additional features that the older Y doesn't have. Not entirely sure, but at least here on the Legacy Y, that feature does not work. So I have the product pulled up here on the Tlyard website, and they have it listed for $375, which in my opinion is a little too much for what it offers. It's nearly $200 per mirror. Now, feature-wise, having the integrated turn signals, having the blind spot detector or monitor built in is a fantastic solution. And using my discount code, I have this added to the cart of MyAdventure, takes off over $100, which I think is like 27%, 26% or something. It's more than the discount code they have on the website. So save you some few extra bucks if you kind of use my code to help save some money for you. The one thing I did notice when I was scrolling through the pictures is, I should say, there is no color option you can choose, but their pictures here show like a carbon fiber finish. So I wish this was available, because that's the one I would have picked. But like I said, I'm probably going to get mine wrapped in like a matte carbon finish and just do some other things on my car with wrapping or tinting. So that will be a separate conversation. But I hope you guys found this review of the product helpful, the install process and kind of the steps that are required to install this into your Model Y. Again, this is for both Model Y Juniper and the Legacy Model Y. It works for both, and the install process is going to be basically identical. But feel free to drop any questions or comments that you have down below on this or any other accessory. Be happy to help you. Again, this was Matt from My Model Y Adventure. Thanks for watching.